guys, Troy here with Cape Ann Conversations with you again. Always looking to remind you to like, subscribe, and share these awesome local businesses. Today I've got Sue Lovett from SML Proofreading with me today. Sue, say hi to everybody and tell us how you got into starting your own business in the proofreading industry.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Glad you could join us today. My background for proofreading is the fact that I've always been a big reader, and I've always picked up on mistakes in newspapers, books, whatever. My mother used to read to me when I was a little kid all the time. I think that has something to do with it. For my start in the business, though, when I was around 13, I saw an error in a local newspaper. It was so funny. It's almost X-rated, so I can't mention it on the podcast, but I cut it out of the paper because it was so funny. And I have not stopped cutting things out of papers, newsletters, whatever, ever since. When I turned 60, or I was about to turn 60, I had this huge collection of clippings that were just kind of taking up space in my apartment. And I said, what am I going to do with all this? And I thought, oh, I could make a book. And the birth of Proof or Consequences. And that kind of was simultaneous with me becoming officially a proofreader and copy editor. It was around COVID time, so I had a bit of time to actually put it together. I've just always enjoyed proofreading without being an official proofreader. People at work would always ask me, I want to write this better. I can't write. You can write. Tell me what I need to do, that kind of thing, or check the spelling on this. And I thought, I love doing this. I should get paid for it. So I did when I was 60. I started my business as well as my books. I'm still getting the word out because that was back around 2019, and I'm not full-time, but I'm of retirement age anyway, so part-time is good for me. And I don't know, what else would you like to know?
So I want to tell a little bit more about this book because this book is actually hilarious. To go into more depth here, it's literally the clippings pulled out of, you name it, local newspaper, and then with illustrations that were added by Art Scott, right? Yeah, okay.
Ari Scott.
Ari Scott, sorry. And maybe even you had a little fun in the drawings here and there.
I can't draw for beans, but I can make funny comments.
So this is a book that you also sell in some local shops.
Mm-hmm. At the bookstore in Gloucester and Susie's Stories in Rockport, as well as on Amazon.
And you also created this other book.
I did that back in 1986, I think it was. I used to work at Yankee Fleet in Gloucester. And I would sit there and listen to the crew talking about where they'd been fishing, what they'd been catching. So if they had been bottom fishing, I picked up on a good piece of bottom and turned it into something that it really sounded like. So the pictures and comments in there they're not the actual word, but they sound like the actual word. So it's a take on word, a play on words, and illustrated by Rockport artist Victor Palazzola.
Okay.
So that was a long time ago. That one is before Amazon. That one is available mostly by contacting me.
Okay. But the Guggen is a classic local term. I know, being an Essex resident, we've got the Guggen Deli there, which I think sells them, or it used to at least sell them, which is a neat little local nuance. But now today, when we talk about your proofreading business here, SML Proofreading, it's more than just proofreading too. It's
copy editing as well, and that goes beyond grammar, punctuation, and spelling. That goes into things like consistency of the story. I do mostly fiction. So consistency of the story. You want to make sure if the character had green eyes in chapter 1, he doesn't have blue eyes in chapter 10. I have to keep an eye out for things like that.
And it's not also just fiction. I mean, we're talking about, you can proofread and copy edit a lot of things. It can be a full-fledged long-form book, but it can also be something as simple as a resume. It can be an article. It can be a website, for instance. It could be a lot of different things that local businesses, could really be embarrassed by if you're using the wrong there in your professional appearance.
Or if you're misspelling the word dining room and you have a dinning room, which sounds like it's very noisy and you wouldn't want to eat there. So I'm actually looking to get customers locally. I'll do brochures, newsletters, emails. Well, not emails so much, but menus, any little thing. And, nothing is too small.
Yeah. And you're working with local businesses, you're working with local writers, you're working with local news outlets. Those are all good, opportunities for customers to come and work with you on all those different types of articles and books and resumes and whatnot, types of things to work on. How do you feel about some of the technology coming into the space? I mean, we can throw out the classic like AI, Chat GPT, and the Word document, Grammarly. It's okay. If we got the phone ringing, just say hi, everybody. It'll go away.
Forgot to turn it off.
It's all good. But what do you think about those technologies coming in and being a part of, effectively, your business?
Well, I confess, I haven't totally looked into it. I just know that everything I'm hearing from writers and editors is negative for the chat. It's harder, I think, from what I've heard, that it's harder to tell if something is actually real or not. It's something I really have to look into.
Yeah.
It hasn't affected me yet, though.
Do you feel like that, I can make an assumption, but I feel like the technology can't bring the human quality to the tone and to the storytelling aspect of something. Right. It can tell you if you've misspelt a word, or maybe even you use the wrong punctuation, but it's not gonna. Give us some examples of things that you do that differentiate you from that.
I don't know exactly about Grammarly, but I'm thinking that maybe some of these programs, they may see a word and not know that it's not the right word. Now, the cover of my book shows a whole bunch of cleaning ladies running like a small army. And the clipping was to do with the clipping said a cleaning regiment.
Yeah.
And when I think of a regiment, I think of army or military and being organized, and that's why the picture is the way it is on the front. What they really wanted was a cleaning regimen.
Yes.
Without the T, and that would be a routine. But I don't know if everybody would pick up on that, or if all these programs would pick up on the difference.
Yeah, because the word was spelt right.
It was spelled correctly.
It was just misused. And maybe you even come in and you hey, why don't we not use the word regimen in this instance?
Because it is confusing.
Because it is, and we use a different one. Or you've used this word, 10 times in a row as an adjective. Let's try to thesaurously get a new word in here to describe this another way. Because another alternative adjective may just spark someone's brain reading this and resonate with it another way, right? Mm-hmm. No, you can't replicate. I don't think the technology is there to replicate that today. I think that's
nothing replicates the human being.
Exactly, because you're pulling on emotions in reading and writing.
Right.
And
you want that to come across.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are your customers today? Are they because you could do this from anywhere, really.
Mm-hmm. I prefer the United States. Obviously, I could do around the world, but I prefer the United States, and the more local, the better. I like to actually meet the person. I've done some copy editing, proofreading for people that I've never met. There was a fellow in Beverly who hired me, and the funny thing about him was when I first started, I put an ad in the local paper, which would include 4 newspapers at the time. And I don't know, I might have gotten 1 or 2 responses from it, but 3 years later, this guy contacts me, and I said, "Oh, where did you hear about me?" He says, "Oh, there was an ad in the paper." And I thought, that was 3 years ago. So you never know where people are coming from when you're going to meet them.
Yeah.
I've met people at the sidewalk bazaar. I've met people at craft fairs when I sell my book at a vendor table. You just never know.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of it can be word of mouth too. You do good proofreading for the right person.
I have had some word of mouth as well. Yes, I've had one of my one of my doctors, my chiropractor, wrote a book, and he had me proofread it and copy edit it for him. So I mean, that I met him, of course, because he was my chiropractor, but I haven't met everybody.
And you're not necessarily going in there thinking, oh, I'm gonna get a customer at a chiropractor's office.
No, I mean, you know how you chat with somebody when you go to the chiropractor and you just chat for a few minutes while you're getting worked on. And he found out that I do copy editing and proofreading, and he says, oh, I'm writing a book. And it just was natural for him to have me proofread it and copy edit it for him because he knew me. It's the personal touch that makes a huge difference.
I think it's the personal touch, but it's also the when you write something, you're looking at it through your own lens and all of the education that you have and all of the knowledge you're trying to get across. But that's not necessarily the same as the way someone's consuming it. And having a third party be able to consume this and say, hey, I don't know a lot about this, and this isn't making a lot of sense to me. So I think we need to change this. And that's all stuff that you'll do. You'll make recommendations. You're not necessarily looking to tell them that they're wrong, but you can make recommendations based on, what they're trying to accomplish.
Right. I won't rewrite the book.
Right.
Just make suggestions. And sometimes if it's an obvious thing, like punctuation or whatever, then I make the change. But otherwise, if it's questionable, then I question them.
Yeah. Does proofreading cost a lot of money?
I charge $1 by the hour amount. I don't know what your definition of a lot is.
Yeah, well, I think if I was sitting here and I was writing something that I thought was really important, let's say an important article about my industry, and I was like, man, I really would like another set of eyes on this, but I don't think I want to pay a proofreader because I think it's going to cost too much money. If I wanted to get a 5-page article, industry article proofread, like a white paper, let's say, what does something like that cost?
There really is no answer to that because it depends on how much work it needs.
True.
And you don't know that until you see it. So I can't tell you, oh, it's going to cost you $400 or any figure. I just can't give it to you. What I do with people and then I deal mostly with novels, I have them send me 10 pages as a sample. And then I read the 10 pages, time it, do the corrections or suggestions or whatever that I would do, and then figure, okay, I read 10 pages, it took me an hour. So then I can kind of base an estimate on that. But that's only 10 pages. So if you've got 300 more to go, you could have 300 pages that took a lot more time.
Yeah, 30 times the amount of work.
So you never really know, but I give an estimate. And as I'm going along, if it looks like I'm going to be way over estimate, I'll say, hey, wait a minute. This isn't going like I planned, and I'd let them know and say, it's up to you if you want me to continue or, what you would like me to do, but it's running over. Or sometimes it could run less. Nobody complains about that.
No, it ever does. No, that's fair. And I think that's the biggest thing. You don't know until you get your hands dirty. But I'm sure if somebody was interested, the best thing to do is just to reach out, right? Have a conversation, start to build a relationship, tell you about what they're working on. And there's probably a few different ways to go at it to make it work. How do people get in touch with you if they're interested?
Oh, actually, email is best, SML Proofreading, sue@smlproofreading.com.
Okay.
Texting is okay once I've established a relationship with somebody. I'll say, okay, you can text me, but email's still preferred.
Yep. So shoot an email over. You guys will find a time to connect and talk about the project. If you're local, maybe even meet up. I guess if you were to sort of list out some examples of things you would love to do more work in, the people listening to this podcast, if they're working on this type of a project, who could be the best next customer for you?
I love working with independent authors, people who are writing their first novel or maybe their second novel. I think that's really fun helping them progress and learn, and I progress and learn at the same time. And I'm trailing off here. What was the direction of the question?
So it's there's a bunch of people listening to this podcast, and they may have their own article or book or know somebody that's working on a new website, or what are like your next dream customers?
Oh, okay. A novel writer,
Yeah.
possibly a first-time writer. Local would be really preferable because like I said before, I enjoy meeting the people, talking to them in person. It's just so much more comfortable,
Yeah.
and you develop levels of trust. What else? Oh, it would be ideal if it were a mystery suspense thriller, because that's my favorite type of book to read.
Yep.
So I enjoy working on them, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. What about from like the business world?
From the business world, I keep looking to get simple things from local authors. I'm not local authors, but menus or brochures or newsletters. I'll look at those. I haven't had any customers like that yet because people probably don't know that I'm out there and do that.
Right.
But I have seen things that they should have.
You've been eating at that local restaurant and
In a loud room.
No, that's great. And that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people can admit when they're not the greatest writer, sometimes too. And like before having you on here today, I wouldn't know necessarily who I would go to besides asking maybe my wife or my friend or somebody who doesn't have a professional stance like you do in proofreading. So I think the biggest thing is just getting that word out, right? Talking to more people, letting people know that, hey, you don't have to ask your buddy who maybe just barely passed English class in high school to proofread this. You know, there's an actual professional right here in our backyard who loves it.
I do.
Like literally loves it. And it might not be someone else, and it might not be your love, and that's perfect because Sue would love to read it and give you feedback and learn about your business or your book or your whatever you're working on. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Perfect. All right, so SML Proofreading, Sue Lovett. Best thing to do is to email. It's Sue at
smlproofreading.com.
Shoot an email, set up a meeting. If you get a chance, go by Proof or Consequences in your local bookstore and read all the errors caught.
It's a great coffee table book or back of the toilet.
There you go. Perfect. Sue, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Troy. I thank you and the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. You're doing great.